if I have to do, this is my definitive Eddy matchup tier list, right? Horrible matchup. And this would be like easy win. Slightly difficult, very difficult, average, below average, right? If we're doing this as the definitive, this is, okay, Eddy's my main. Eddy has been my main since Tekken 5, right? So, well, Christine Montero was the Eddy replacement in Tekken 5, but still, capoeira users have been my main since Tekken 5. Either way, if I had to look at the Tekken 8 cast and think of a tier list of the definitive matchups for Eddy, I'm doing Eddy specifically, Leroy I'll come back to in the future. But for Eddy, Jack, average. Jack has fake mix-ups with him. I thought crazy matchups. Now it was just a knowledge check. Jack is average. In fact, for the most part, I would argue he's below average. Again, the reason why I lose against Jack, I just suck at the matchups. Jin, because he has Jin, I'd say is average to slightly above. Yeah, average to slightly above average. Right? Jin has the, what is it? He has the perfect electric, which is 11 frames. Fucks most people up. It's 11 frames, but it's a high, so you can duck it. Jin's down 2. His Scourge is minus 13, minus 14, I think. And while rising 1 is 13 frames. But the problem is, whenever Eddy does Scourge, or whenever Jin does Scourge, he's considered crouching. And Eddy's while rising 1 is a high. So you can't even launch punish Jin for that move. That would launch you on counter hit. Sucks. The only thing you can punish Scourge with is low parry and while rising 4, which is 11 frames, but you can't combo off of it. So it sucks. That's what I would say. Average. Oh yeah, and then he also has Can. Fuck Can. So I would say there's this. It's average to slightly above average, but I'll put it at average just to be safe. Jin, very difficult. Matchup, horrible. Jin is just a bad matchup for Eddy. She is incredibly fast and she's incredibly safe. That is not something Eddy is good against. Safe, fast and safe characters. And you're going to see a pattern as I move forward. Kazuya, average. Perfect electric, whatever. He's a 2-touch character. I'm not going to argue with anyone on that one. Kazuya is a 2-touch character. 2 wrong mistakes and you're fucking cooked. Anyways, it is what it is. I would say he's average. There's nothing too crazy about him, too underwhelming about him. It is what it is. King, worst matchup in the game, by far. He was worst matchup in the game because he has a lot of hyper armors, which will break him out of a lot of Eddy's combos. He has a 13 frame launcher, which, you know, the kick, powerbomb. That, you know that one. You know, because every king does it. 13 frames. The problem is, with Eddy, every move he throws out except for his while rising 3, which is 19 frame startup, but it's safe on block, somewhat. Actually, is it even? Hold on. Is it even? I don't even think it is. Minus 2. I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, I'm gonna lose my mind. Anyways. King is his worst matchup because every move that Eddy throws out is 13 frame plus punishable. Everything. Except for his hell sweep, which is minus 23, minus 26. Whatever. It's still incredibly minus. So, King, with his 13 frame, boom, 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 boom. Stupid combo, that powerbomb combo that does like infinite damage. It just is a bad matchup for Eddy. He also has the hop kick. So whenever Eddy tries to go low, King can go high with the launch. King is safe on most of his attacks. He has a lot of attacks that he's safe on. So considering the damage that King does and the speed that he can throw a launch out, I'm considering it a launch, right? That mid-high, if it lands, it's a launch. And for Eddy, it's a launch. It's landing. And also, because King has so many grabs that grab grounded, mid, crouching, neutral, aerial, when Eddy been in an era, he's considered aerial. So that means it's an automatic powerbomb from King, which means it's King's turn. It is what it is. So King is just the worst matchup for Eddy because every move, well, the 13 frame, every move that Eddy throws out is 13 frame minus 13 plus. And King just so happens to have all the tools necessary to punish Eddy. That's why I say King is Eddy's worst matchup by far. Lars, he's average. There's nothing special about him. There's nothing special about Lars at all. He's average. Law, very difficult, but not impossible. Law is just annoying because of the kick, the quack, wow. You know that one move that King loves to spam. I know you can sidestep it. His speed as well. His speed definitely makes him a problem for Eddy. Because there's like a lot of high lows, high mids and stuff like that really can throw off Eddy ducking and punishing with the while rising. Because Eddy's while rising 2, 15 frame startup, minus 18 on block. So launch punishable. So it's very hard to gauge when to punish with Eddy. Not to mention also Law has a lot of jumping attacks as well, just like the same excuse that I gave with King. And you'll notice over here with these three characters how many jumping moves they have that will punish Eddy's negativa or his low attacks. Fast, like I said, fast and can jump. Paul, average. Paul just hits hard. So it is what it is. Nina, top 2 worst matchups in the game. Her speed is not for Eddy. Her speed does not play around with Eddy. If you're Eddy and you decide to go up against Nina, you don't want to. It's an automatic loss. This is why every single time I play ranked, even when I learn the Nina matchup, I have like a 20% success rate against Nina's as Eddy. As Leroy, it's a different story because the matchup is just that bad. Zhao Yu, average. Nothing special. Asuka, below average. The matchup is kind of like even. I think what gives Eddy the advantage is that he outranges Asuka. For a lot of her attacks, he can outrange her. The only thing that throws me off personally is that backflip move where she like launch backflips, but she also gets distance on block. That throws me out, but that's a personal thing. That's not a matchup thing. Eddy will outrange Asuka 9 times out of 10. Leroy, I'm trying not to use my bias here. He has a very good matchup. I wouldn't say it's horrible. It's very difficult. Reason why? Pop, 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 pop is a high, mid, chain punch. I ripped off my earphones. Whatever, doesn't matter. But that move can throw Eddy off a lot. He has a lot of fast punishes and also parry. I don't know why the Leroys that I fight don't utilize this often. That's why in my head, I said I had to remove my bias. I was going to put him an easy win. Because most of the Leroys I fight do not use the perfect parry or parry at all. Please, Leroys, if you're fighting Eddy, parry more often. Eddy sucks against it. For example, I will use this for example, right? This move, right? Let's say Eddy gets off a heat engager, and he's chasing after you. If he does this, it can be perfect parried, right? If Eddy's in negativa, and he decides to do this, any of these 2 moves, perfect parryable. When Leroy goes into hermit stance, that automatically parries his hell sweep. Perfect parryable. Perfect parryable. So many moves. Perfect parryable. Perfect parryable. There are so many moves, right? Perfect parryable. Perfect parryable. So many moves that Eddy has that Leroy can immediately shut down. Immediately. If you know the timing, if you know what he's planning to do. So bad. Very bad. Leroy is a bad. In fact, I'd even put him up here. I'd put him near horrible. Nearly. Very close to horrible matchup. But, okay. Would I put him in horrible? Because again, I feel like my bias is also playing part in this. Like again, I'm willing to put at very high, like very difficult matchup to near impossible. The Leroys that I fight make him here. But Leroy as a fundamental character is up here in terms of matchups. When I gauge Leroy, he's at the very bottom of high difficult to, oh no, at the very bottom of horrible matchup to at least very difficult. He's tethering these 2 tiers. But he's definitely at the top of this tier, by far. Lily, fair matchup. Every single time I fight a Lily, it's always been fair. That's why I consider Lily one of the most honest characters in Tekken 8. It's been fair, always. Hwoarang, one of his worst matchups. I hate it. Hwoarang, fuck Hwoarang till the day I die. Right, I'm gonna put it here. I hate Hwoarang as a Leroy. I hate Hwoarang as an Eddy. Hwoarang is just shit. And I know there might be bias in here. There might be bias influencing this decision right here with Hwoarang being in a horrible matchup. But still, Hwoarang is definitely a bad matchup. Claudio, average. Personally, I just don't like his while running too. But that's just a me issue. I'm not trying to be biased. Azucena, also average. Raven, with the amount of substitutions that he has to like get out of jail, put him in a little bit above difficult. Dragunov, Sergei Dragunov, one of those instances of like very problematic because of what he can do, right? He can steal turns very quickly, and that's not good against Eddy. Eddy is the type of person who needs to pressure you. He needs to make, like, Eddy thrives on the fact that you do not know that he's punishable. That's what he thrives on. Otherwise, he's weak. And I'm not trying to downplay him. His damage, one of the best heat smashes in the game, one off. His heat smash does crazy damage, and his 50-50s are very dangerous when they do hit you. So, yeah, I understand. And his damage in general. It's just, Eddy does a lot of damage. So I can understand these 3 factors to say Eddy is powerful, but like when you know what he does, he's weak. It's kind of like Kuma, but not as bad as Kuma. That said, Kuma, average. Every single time I fight him, it's just because I don't know the matchup. Leo, below average. There's nothing Leo does that Eddy can take care of. Shaheen, average. Steve, his speed, I put him more up here in terms of average. I wouldn't put him down there. I put him more up here. Yoshimitsu, it's a 50-50. Honestly, I wouldn't even put him at average. I wouldn't put Yoshimitsu at average in terms of a matchup for Eddy. I think Eddy has a lot more advantages for here. Because when Yoshimitsu is in Dragonfly, and he does that spinning homing move, if Eddy ducks it and he does a Wild Rising 3, combo. It's a full combo. There's a lot of moves that Eddy has that can shut down Yoshimitsu sometimes. But Yoshimitsu, on the other hand, also has the flash parry, which just fucks most people up. Thing, average. Funny enough, Thing is an average matchup. Panda, I'll put Panda in, actually no, Panda is below average. No, Panda's easy win. Alyssa, horrible matchup. Chainsaws. I think Alyssa is just a bad matchup for everyone except for Leroy. Leroy is the only person who can fight Alyssa and say, cool. He's the only person. Because, fortunately enough, Leroy can parry every single part of the chainsaw. When she goes, he can parry all of that shit, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's why I'm saying Leroy is one of the only people who can fight Alyssa and say that's an okay matchup and is not disadvantaged. Devil Jin, average. I find it bullshit when I fight him, but he's average. Lee, a good Lee would make it very difficult in terms of matchup. Zafina, average. Victor, easy win. I'm sorry, maybe I'm speaking from bias here, but Victor is an easy win for Eddy. They're very much on the same tier in terms of like punishing each other. Brian, average. Reina, average. Eddy, below average. I wouldn't say he's easy win. Eddy is a below average matchup for Eddy. He's not average, he's below average. Especially if you know the matchup. If you know your matchup as Eddy, punishable. Lydia, right now as it stands, very difficult. But as time will go, maybe I'm speaking from here, maybe as time will go, I'll learn the matchup more. And maybe my opinion on that one will change. But yeah, as it stands right now, this is the definitive Eddy matchup tier list from start to bottom. If I were to put it in order, it would look different. Like if I were to say, oh, this one is worse than this one is worse than this one, that's a different story. I might put that in like a YouTube video or some shit like that, or shit, this might be the YouTube video, and I'll show right here on the screen, like to overlay, I'll show the actual matchup in order. But this is ranking Eddy's worst matchups to his best ones, with King being the worst and Victor being his best matchup. But yeah, that's it. That said, if you like this video, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can always be notified every single time I upload. Join the live streams. Take care of yourself, drink water, be ever wonderful, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.